Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the latest data that's actively moving the global SAN polymer market for the first week of August 2026. Look, if you're anywhere in the supply chain right now, keeping your finger on the pulse of styrene acrylonitrile is absolutely crucial. So let's just get right into it and see what the data is telling us.
Now, all this intelligence comes straight from our friends at Polymer Bazaar. Their core philosophy, price, prediction, profit, is what really drives their tracking of all these global metrics. The whole point here is to help you cut through the noise, taking that raw data and translating it into actionable, highly profitable strategies for your own business.
So I want you to think about this for a second because it kind of sounds like an economics riddle. How exactly does a routine operational pause, basically just standard plant maintenance halfway across the world in China, literally squeeze your local polymer prices? Well, we are going to trace that exact global ripple effect today, showing you step by step how it is working its way through the entire supply chain as we speak.
All right, let's lay down our baseline with Section 1, the Global Styrene Price Snapshot.
Starting off in the West, specifically looking at the U.S. Gulf Coast, what is really interesting here is the momentum. The styrene price is sitting at 65 cents per pound, and the absolutely crucial detail here is that this is trending upward. That is a very strong number, and that upward trajectory is setting a specific, undeniably bullish tone for the Americas right now.
Now, crossing the Atlantic over to Europe, our benchmark, FOB Rotterdam, is sitting at a pretty hefty $1,570 per metric ton. That's a significant baseline for sure, but as we'll see in a minute, the reality on the ground over there is a lot more complex.
And wrapping up our global tour in Asia, we land much lower at $1,065 per metric ton. Unlike the US, we're actually seeing declining assessments here. CFR China dropped by $45 and FOB Korea dropped by $30 just to hit this mark.
So when you put all that together, it creates this really compelling divergence. U.S. styrene prices are aggressively moving up, eventually peaking at $1,360 per metric ton in their local bazaar, while the Asian benchmark assessments are visibly dropping. It's like the global market is pulling in two completely opposite directions right now. And honestly, this is creating a massive headache for international buyers who are just trying to time their purchases correctly.
Which brings us to Section 2, Western markets and their mixed signals. Let's look closer at that confusion. Because honestly, there is just clear chaos in the European bazaar today. Feedstock prices are moving in totally opposite directions. You've got benzene prices rising up to €1,235 per metric ton. Acrylonitrile, or ACN, is also pointing up, hitting €1,885 per metric ton. And yet, right alongside that, styrene is sitting completely stable at €1,440. What this data tells us is that there's a sudden influx of Chinese imports flooding into the region. That flood is totally disrupting the usual supply-demand balance and causing these feedstock prices to basically decouple from one another.
Meanwhile, over in the U.S. bazaar, it's a completely different picture. Over there, ACN is holding steady at $1,815 per metric ton, while styrene has climbed to that $1,360 mark we mentioned. But the real kicker here? Export activity is incredibly muted. The U.S. market is essentially keeping to itself right now, which means they aren't providing any relief whatsoever to the turbulence we are seeing over in Europe or Asia.
Let's shift our focus east. Section 3, China's supply chain squeeze. This is the real catalyst.
Okay, let's walk through the exact chain reaction unfolding on the ground in China. Step 1. Routine plant maintenance was initiated. Sounds totally standard, right? But then, Step 2. This maintenance immediately triggered acute supply shortages. Step 3 is where it really hits the wallet. Because of those unexpected shortages, Northeast Asia propylene prices violently spiked by $200 per metric ton. ACN prices were yanked up by $50 per metric ton. Even China's local styrene prices rose by $25. And that leads us straight to Step 4, the inevitable conclusion: tremendous upward pressure on SAN prices. This right here is exactly how a local operational pause spreads like wildfire and becomes a massive global price driver.
So how does this hit closer to home? Section 4, the Indian Sand Bazaar.
For domestic buyers trying to navigate these turbulent waters, regional benchmarks are showing some really tight windows. The Mumbai Bazaar was assessed at 180 to 181 rupees per kilogram, while Delhi is sitting just slightly higher at 184 to 185 rupees per kilogram. And just a quick note, both of those are ex-GST. Surprisingly, despite all that global chaos we just talked about, spot prices here are currently showing only nominal fluctuations. But make no mistake, that stability is incredibly fragile.
So, what do we do about it? Let's get to Section 5, the final purchase recommendation.
To make the right call here, you really need to understand the current market pulse. Buying has actually improved slightly following some recent domestic price hikes. People started seeing the writing on the wall and securing their material. However, the overarching sentiment is being heavily squeezed. Why? Tight import availability, and even more importantly, delayed vessel arrivals. The physical product is literally struggling to reach the shores on time, which is effectively choking off the supply of imported grades and creating some very real urgency in the market.
And here is the absolutely crucial takeaway, summarized directly in the Polymer Bazaar intelligence report. Quote, tight availability in imported grades might push up retail prices, so we suggest purchases. Listen, this is not a time to wait and see. The report's urgent recommendation is to buy SAN right now. Those global delays are stacking up, and you need to secure your inventory before retail prices inevitably surge to reflect this global shortage.
Moving on to Section 6, Market Data on Demand. Let's talk about how you stay ahead of this. Utilizing the Polymer Bazaar WhatsApp chatbot gives you a pretty massive advantage here. It delivers instant Bazaar data, giving you real-time polymer pricing, market news, and forecasts in literally under 5 seconds. Plus, you get direct access to official company price lists right there in your chat. And the best part? The 24/7 availability. You can get reliable updates anytime, anywhere, allowing you to bypass all that market chaos we just went over and make immediate, informed decisions.
Getting set up is incredibly straightforward. Just open up WhatsApp, type PBT, and send it to +91 93746 24365. That one simple step will instantly arm you with the real-time polymer pricing intelligence you need to survive this incredibly volatile August market. So we've seen the global data, we've traced the supply chain reactions from China, and we've heard the direct, urgent purchase recommendations. The big question is, with delayed vessels actively squeezing physical availability, will you lock in your polymer prices today, or are you going to risk the retail surge tomorrow? The data is in your hands. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and we will dive into the next set of numbers very soon.